Yeah, so I went to a retreat this weekend. It happened to be women's only retreat. And there were lots of synchronicities. I bought this bracelet uh, kind of on my way there. And then there was a rainbow on the first day of the retreat, right when we arrived. And of course, you know, rainbow symbols are very common, and rainbows are a pretty common meteorological phenomenon. So it's kind of nice though. But then there were other things, but the wildest thing was probably someone came to do a breath work, uh, you know, ceremony workshop with us. And I kept thinking, she reminds me of this girl that I went to college with in California 23 years ago, right? We were kind of in the same circle. We didn't live in the same house, but we had, several of the same friends. And she'd come to Column Bay and, hang out and eat with us and that kind of thing. Um, and I remember I always wanted to kind of get to know her better, but I was a little bit too shy at that time. I just didn't know how to approach it, I guess. Uh, anyway, I think of her every now and then. She just seemed like a really cool girl. And then uh, the breathwork facilitator really reminded me of this woman that I knew 23 years ago in California. And the retreat was in a random hill in the middle of Arkansas, right? So, anyway, we were all in the hot tub together, a bunch of us, and this woman, she mentioned something about the Bay Area. And I was like, nah, like one in a million shot. That's not her, right? And then I'm like, did you go to Stanford? And she was like, I thought you looked familiar. And she was that girl. That was her. Like, we were talking about all the people we knew in common 23 years ago in California. What are the odds, right? It's pretty wild. But it was that kind of retreat, breath work, yoga, hot tub, circling, a hike to a waterfall. We all stood under this 30-foot tall waterfall on the yoga studio owner's property. Yoga studio slash retreat space. There wasn't like dorms or anything. We all just sort of either slept in tents or slept in the floor of the studio space. That was a huge space. So like there's plenty of, 10 people can sleep along the wall, and there's still lots of room to do yoga and a kitchen on one side and everything else. So gorgeous view over lots more hills. And there were lots of storms and lightning. And I had a massage this morning. There's kind of a lean-to with, a shelter over it, where I had a massage, and thunder was just cracking all around us so loud the entire time. And like sometimes I was totally relaxed, but sometimes the massage therapist would jump a little bit. But it was very cool. Um, what else? Yeah, some good food, good company, just everybody telling their stories. And it wasn't a silent retreat. I normally go on silent retreats. When we went to the waterfall, we all dressed up like fairies in various ways, and that's where I got my um. Well, I didn't get my butterfly pin there, but there's this woman who, I swear to God, she's like a wood nymph. Like she just looks like a classical painting of a wood nymph or a sculpture. And she lives in the woods, and she makes like herbal tinctures and butterfly accessories. And it's not a real butterfly, obviously. And she uses real butterflies. It's from things that she found that were dead. So a memento mori, in addition to beautiful art. But yeah, as And I smoked marijuana pretty much every evening I was there. Took some little microdose mushrooms and did ape, the one where they blow the snuff up your nose. That was a lovely experience. Yeah, it's not like I mean, I've never tried cocaine, but cocaine apparently makes you feel like you're like powerful and invincible, from what I understand. Um, this just made me feel like I belong, not to any particular clique or species, but to the universe. And it was a powerful catalyst, I think, for because I've had glimpses of non-dual, but it's always like a little rabbit, like or a little vole or something. I don't know. Like peeking their little head out, and like I know I'm gonna go back in the hole. Like I'm not gonna spend too much time there. Like, you know, it's like I'm not ready to admit that I'm gonna die. I don't know. It's like when you're there, there's a sense that you have no idea what's gonna happen, right? No pretense of any idea what's gonna happen. It's all extremely loud and incredibly close. And there's a sense of like, if I try to interact with somebody in this state, I have no idea what's going to happen. I might be completely. I mean, like you're schizophrenic or on mushrooms or God knows what, right? It doesn't feel sustainable, and your system is like, my system would do that until I was back in the back in the hole, back in the dualistic world where things made sense again. Yeah, things pretended to make sense. And so on night one, I think, of the retreat, I smoked, I got in the hot tub, and I was kind of in that non dual space where, like, the universe is a hot tub. Like, there's no guarantee there's anything before or after the hot tub. Not the worst place to be, but, the chatter at the margins, it's like, you have kids, you have a house, you have responsibilities, you gotta save the world, you gotta. And if you don't have all these voices in your head, you're a bad person. You're neglecting everything, you're abandoning everything. How dare you just sit in a hot tub and be in the hot tub when you're in the hot tub? But yeah, it's kind of scary. And I kind of got also in that little bit of a solipsistic mindset where it's like, wow, the universe is so lonely. It's just this hot tub. It's like, or not exactly that. It's more like the universe is lonely because it's not human. Because that's my own bias. Like, humans are the default, and my bias. Humans are good. Humans are meaningful. Humans love and plan and believe they are masters of their fate to some extent. In the universe, it's like, what is that? It's null. It feels like emptiness. But then it's like, well, then how did this expression? So yeah, my mind was still kind of like trying to make sense of non-dual, right? And it was just, grinding its gears in a million different ways, each one more futile than the next, then the last, then the next, then all of them. It's all the same pretty much. Well, or so it seems, but yeah, it kept trying to find something to grasp onto, some narrative thread that made it make sense. And so that's uncomfortable. And then other discomforts would happen, or so-called discomforts, and I would wonder what that was and how to make sense of that. And so it was kind of like I really got, even though there was sort of non-dual perception, the thoughts were going so crazy that and then I would, flip back into regular dual, yeah, mode. And then little by little, with the work we did, with the yoga and the breath work and the cannabis and probably the mushrooms and the forest and the waterfall and the women and all of it together, it was just kind of like I could feel the energy starting to unhook more and more. The hooking energy, the grasping energy, the control energy. And it's kind of scary to feel that dissolving, knowing that, all your illusions are going to dissolve with it, along with whatever's left of your identity. As much as you think you want it, as long as you worked for it, as fearless as you might feel, or as fearless as you might believe you are based on all the things you've faced so far, that last, the last few tethers died hard for me. And fought like hell, like a cornered rat. Bless their hearts. But I mean, I was like, at one point, I can't remember exactly what, maybe during one of the meditations, it was like, I could feel in my throat, I think, judgments, discrimination, as in like one thing from another, as in like good and bad, as in like and dislike, as in worthy and unworthy, like all of that stuff. I could feel it right here, and I could feel it starting to dissolve. And it's like, holy shit, who am I going to be when I don't know what's good and bad, when I don't know what's cool and uncool, when I don't know, when that's not even hardly a thing. But it was like a knowing that I can't keep living the way that I'm living. So I said, yeah, I give you permission to go, even though I don't know what's on the other side. You can go. You can be you can be taken. And I felt so much energy still releasing right now, releasing from my throat. I mean, who the hell knows? Who knows anything? That's the thing. I can't say anything about anything. And, I've said that before. But somehow it hits different now. And it's really hard to put into words how. But like any worldview, any story, any narrative, any way to try to make sense of anything seems as good as any other. And somebody said they met Jesus, and somebody said they met aliens, and somebody said they met the Ninja Turtles in a near-death experience. And what can you say except that seems very real to you? I mean, I'm not going to become an anti-vaxxer, I think, for example. I don't really think all things are exactly the same as all other things, but I mean, in a relative sense, I can still do whatever I did before if I want to. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I think it happened kind of during yoga this morning. Where I arrived at the present moment in a way that I had not before. I don't know how else to say that. But it was like really nothing existed other than what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what I was feeling. And then thoughts just kind of came and went. And, normally there's kind of just for example, if you're at a yoga class, you pretty much do what everybody else does for the most part, right? But and sometimes you do something else because you want to modify or just you need to work on some other part of your body, and that's fine too. But for me at that time, it was like it's really hard to put into words. Like before, I might be thinking about what anyone else might think about me doing something different. In this case, there was no thought about that whatsoever. It was me, it was my body, it was the context. My thoughts, anybody else's thoughts, irrelevant. It's like a kind of freedom to be yourself and do your thing that I had never experienced before. And it's scary because I had to learn over the years how to modify myself to fit in with, to some degree, with the hostile environment I found myself in, right? hostile to the authentic me, because the authentic me is not what this culture values. Certainly not growing up. And even now, like, it was such a relief to be with women who were so relaxed about everyone being themselves, because it was everybody was very different. Nobody was excluded. Nobody was, nobody rolled their eyes at anybody. It was like the sense of acceptance was beautiful and rare. And I think very helpful, because it's a good, I mean, because it's one thing to be yourself in the woods, right? It's another to be yourself among people energetically. And to start to be so free. With people. Even when something, something in me knows, like, even here, this is a little odd, but they didn't care, And I didn't care how they were. I didn't care if they were a little odd or a little quiet or a little loud or a little anything. It's like, it was the most judgment-free zone I think I've ever been in my life. And that's a kind of magic, I think. There's a little bit of buttoned upness in every other retreat I've been to. Some kind of, like, keep it at this level, or keep it at this level, but don't go all the way to this level. Don't be crazy authentic, okay? And it's not like I was doing anything too crazy. It was just like, 1 minute I'm quiet, another minute I'm telling a stupid joke, another minute I'm staring at the clouds, another, like, all my life it's like, pipe down, or like, why are you so quiet, or like, smile, or like, it's like, stop speaking in a French accent for no reason. Why not speak in a French accent for no reason? But yeah, when I did happy baby pose, I remember looking at the ceiling like I really was a newborn baby. Like, shapes, colors, sounds, no labels, nothing attached. Obviously the next time the yoga instructor tells you to switch to a new pose, then something clicks in and either you do or you don't, right? But you kind of like know you're at a yoga class again. But yeah, where I was, what time it was, what even what I'm feeling, because it, you can, the sensation field is so nebulous. it can take real effort to figure out like, oh yeah, I'm hungry, or um, I don't know. Lately, like I don't know what I'm feeling in general. Like it's just like stuff's happening. Like, oh, that feels kind of centered on my heart. It feels kind of a little dense. Little like kind of fingers of density kind of coiling around. But I don't know what that means. I could guess. I could make up a story. I don't know. It's just happening. Is this self validating? It feels more fun and more alive and more immediate and more free. But also, I don't know a goddamn thing. Maybe Jesus is real. Maybe aliens are real. Maybe vaccines are poison. But I do more than ever before see everyone walking around as an expression of existence. And I feel like, I could be wrong, I feel like non dual people make up stories about that. Like they say, oh, it's God shattered into a million pieces to get to know itself, or infinite consciousness, whatever. Do they really know that? Angelo doesn't talk so much about that. Might be because it's one of those things that's untestable. We have what we can observe. Feel, perceive, and think at a given moment. And it's funny, I can get lost in thought still. I don't know, I thought I was present before, so maybe there's more layers to it. Because this feels like a gone beyond kind of thing. It feels like an event horizon kind of thing. I don't think I've gone altogether beyond, because there's still some questions, still some doubts. I don't even know exactly what they are. I don't know anything. I just yeah, and it's funny the difference between knowing that you don't know anything was kind of the more intellectualized phase of the process. And when I say I don't know anything now, it feels different because it's more of a lived experience and not an idea. It's energetic, it's energetic to still have that gripping. And I still have some. I can feel it, especially in my heart and my throat, and the stomach, and to some extent my solar plexus and what do you call it? Sacral chakra. I don't know if chakras are a real thing. I just know I tend to have feelings in those rough areas more often than others. Maybe it's power of suggestion. Maybe it's over here and I feel it here. 'Cause, who knows? Even what I see, I have to work harder to interpret it. And sometimes I don't do that work, and then it's just colors and shapes. And just a little bit of fear came up just now. But that's the thing, it's coming up now. It doesn't say anything about anything else. It's just a feeling right now. And as every new feeling, as feelings come up right now, they just move through. There's nothing to hold on to them or interrogate them or try to understand them. Yeah, there's an emptiness to it because it's like it's so real that I could blink out of existence at any moment, either through death or through mega volcano eruption. I guess that would probably be death, but you know what I mean, like a quiet, uneventful death, or the entire planet exploding, or just a quantum. Whatever you call it, whatever you want. God farting or something, and then Earth gone. It's like so tenuous. It makes it seem much richer. And when I say free, by the way, like I can get a much stronger sense of there being no doer. There are thoughts, there are sensations, there are actions, there are words, there are plans. Something like, I'll pick you up at 6 and we'll go to dinner. That plan happened. But then, like, for example, I brought 2 copies of my book to give away at the retreat, and I didn't know who to give them to. And so I didn't try to plan it out. I didn't alphabetize people. I didn't throw darts. I didn't do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I walked into the room where, most people had already, not more than half had already left. Of the people remaining, I didn't know who to give the books to. So I just sat down kind of in the middle of everyone until it just felt right to give a book to Azalea. And then I didn't know how to give the next book to, so I sat down somewhere else. And then somebody thanked, one of the women for doing dishes. And she was so gracious about saying you're welcome. And I was like, yeah, I should thank her with a book. So I gave her a book. And it just felt so unfabricated. There was no agenda. There was no ego. I wasn't trying to curry favor. I wasn't trying to be cool. It was just, I don't know. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's really hard to put this stuff into words. It's going to sound like cliched wisdom. Those lovely cliches that you can stitch on pillows and you hear at, hippie music festivals, and all the stuff I knew when I was 20, all the stuff I read when I was 20, all the stuff I believed when I was 20. Well, maybe 20, 23-ish. That's when it really started to come online. But even before then, the wisdom is just right there at your fingertips all the time. But kind of getting there energetically, owning your shadow. It's very different from hearing something, very different from knowing something, very different from believing something. So I think I'll stop there for now. None of this might, Jesus, I've been talking for 40 minutes. Yeah, don't know how much it's going to resonate with anyone, but thought I'd give it a shot.